Well, by Bok. BBB, unfortunately, doesn't quite work out as well. But we are going to be getting into things. I think we need to have a hot start for BBG if they are going to have a start in this one, if they're going to be able to do well. Obviously, Bime being banned out actually kind of helped them as well. It's their lowest win percent map, so there's some potential here, and already we're kicking off with a flying start. It's going to be pressure put in. There is Rob Wiz. I think he has to have a pretty phenomenal game if they are going to have a chance of taking this one home, and he started off very strong. The dash through gives him an opener, and for the remaining members of TSM, this is going to have to be a retake in a 4v5 situation. Ooh. And Critical's just managed to get 2 with the shock dart. You can see the confidence now flowing through the veins of the BBG guys as Critical will close things out. And Boran, he's the new man on the block, so we're kind of looking at him to see what he now brings to this roster.
And what can you expect from a silver player on this map? The big ol' Odin. He's going to be playing a lot of that. Did that in the game against Mamba Mode Gaming. And their B executes on attack are really good, very utility focused, but they're able to just put so much pressure on those players on the site to the point where you see a lot of teams just move off of it. They're going to 5-stack all of the defended players on TSM. It's just a case of BBG can use that to their advantage, not use too much utility to push onto A, ideally, or even mid, and just take this without any real force. Economy is going to be a big deal in this, and everybody matters, I suppose.
Looks like Foe's about to come under a little bit of pressure. Not the greatest weapon for range. The Stinger will mainly just gain him information. Rob Wiz, however, does have the Marshal available. Should be able to do a little bit more. Nice shot from Wardell, though. Already making things a little bit more costly. This isn't a round where it seems like the defensive side have put too much into this one, so you can expect some rifles to be coming up in the next round. I think it's important, though, that even on an individual level, we see those sort of aggressive plays that we like to see from Built by Gamers. So it's worth mentioning that obviously they do run both a Reyna and a Jet on this map. So in terms of actual utility, TSM are going to have them trumped in a lot of cases. Like those 2 agents, sure, you do have the smokes available to you, but mainly they're used for getting the openers, gaining space. Now, sure, if those 2 players can pop off, this can work. If not, they will eventually get choked out of a lot of these rounds. Of course, this one, not really expecting too much. As said, TSM haven't really invested much into it, but keeping 4 players alive will give BBG a pretty solid... But 3 players alive. Sorry, 3 players alive will give them a pretty solid bonus.
Actually, a Guardian in the hands of Wardell. I've seen a few people like Scream pick this up a little bit. Okay, he's maybe wanting to dedicate to that gun as he gets to Vandal, but we could have dreamed. A lot of these operator players have been trying to pick it up a little bit more, but the money is still not good from Built by Gamers. It is a bit of a bonus round, to be honest, with the buy that they have. They can get more, but we are going to be seeing this B execute come in again. Certainly watch where the Paranoias put the Leers. It's all placed perfectly. It's just whether a case of TSM's bunkered up comp on this B site in Boathouse, he gets some damage done and stop it from going in.
Drone trying to hold in the backlines. He is going to be able to get the first pick. Even just damage being done here, though, could be hugely valuable. But Drone, he's looking to hold down the line. 2 kills, though, still an even trade. And that's some extra weaponry actually picked up for the side by BBG. This round isn't out of the realms of possibility, especially with the flank that's currently coming in as well from Bior. There's a chance that he could do some serious extra damage. In fact, he's already picked off 1. He gets the kill onto Cutler as well. And considering this was their bonus round, Subrosa, I'll admit, I've loved him on the Omen so far, but this would have to be one hell of a play if he's going to get them out of this spot.
Aldron's going to try and locate where he is, does eventually find him right at the end. Subrosa possibly aiming to try and get him for Ninja Defuse, go into the site as everybody's trying to leave, but it's keeping Built by Gamers there. The issue is Subrosa was 2 health, there was a Nano Swarm keeping him at bay, Bjorn gets his 3rd, and Bjorn's been a really interesting player to watch. A lurking Killjoy isn't the thing that you typically see, but he's been giving it a good go at least. In some cases, there wasn't much impact. You compare that to Subrosa, who you mentioned, was a god tier lurker, some incredible plays, had 100 Thieves wrapped around his finger on this very map in that game that we saw about a week ago. Can't believe how quickly that's flown by, actually, now that you think about it. But
he's not
a lot of
even as well.
Yeah, and that's their best map. That's where we're going next. But if Built by Gamers can make this close, or God forbid, even take the map, TSM might fall into a bit of a pit, as some teams do. When upsets happen, Cloud9 especially, back in the day, were caught out by that kind of thing. But they're just trying to put some pressure mid, but they don't expect Sabrosa right in this corner. Beautiful shot with the Sheriff.
Can never really count out TSM from any round, so they've got to be pretty careful here. But I like the fact that we're seeing this sort of pacey style that BBG have shown when they're up against lesser opponents. They're still bringing it in, because that's what we saw from Exit yesterday. Was they looked like they weren't even playing their normal style. Now it's another pick coming up for Hazed. This round in isolation, already a pretty decent success. They've made things at least costly. The real question is whether or not they can actually do some more damage. Can they take some more guns away, or could they even steal the round altogether? Now, Will is in a fairly aggressive position, but in terms of weaponry, he does have an inherent advantage. Good flash through is going to leave him completely blind and actually isolate all three players into the site. Even if they were just going for exits, they could try and trap these players in, but I think at this point TSM are fully looking to try and go for this. Sabrosa picks off one, but it's at a trade of two teammates. And the aftershock will clear the close angle, but they're not finding any of the frags, and it will eventually be Will to close the round. 3 players lost. Not an awful round, but for BBG, they're just happy to continue to get these attacker-sided rounds.
Yeah, they're just building up a nice little economy. It's another big buy from TSM. And honestly, that round, Drone kind of gave away, made it difficult for themselves to retake that site. Because both the two people on post plant from BBG were looking towards the defender's spawn. The aftershock was placed behind them. They checked behind them, and lo and behold, that's where the two retakers are for TSM, right? So using that bit of utility made them go, oh, they're over here. We read that wrong completely. It's going to be an aggressive push. Will has been actually great for Built by Gamers. A new addition. And even Hunter's Fury is going to try and clear out some of the site. It does actually tag somebody onto the back.
Ooh,
it gets Cutler.
Okay.
That's a great opening, but Sabrosa's in a nice position here to punish.
Yeah, they're just going to play off this, running straight out into the A site. Sabrosa, as you said, has managed to catch one and will even break the door before they can take it. And more importantly, look where the spike is. That is a pretty horrific position to try and reclaim from. They know the Sabrosa is just around the back of the angle, but they will manage to catch him, almost using the Owl drone as bait. The problem is they didn't actually get the spike or move it back. Nice shot from Critical, though. Now, this is a rough clutch, but if he could make it work, it would be a huge start to the game. It's not going to be happening, though. Drone closes the round, and this time, unfortunately, for Built by Gamers, it's not quite going to work out.
Good round from TSM. You'll see this a lot from Built by Gamers. Their BXQ is really good, like we've highlighted. Their A1, not so much. They typically go there when they're on an eco or later on into a round. It's very reminiscent of T1, I suppose, in some cases, where to begin with, on a round, they can look a bit shaky, can often do the same plays over and over. If they can get first blood and make it a 5 versus 4, the confidence just flows through them. They take over the map, they do some really cool plays, but until then, they can be a little bit sheepish. This fight mid is going to be so important. Wardell, Sabrosa's there on Cubby 2. Position not given up by the Aldron, actually. And he catches out Will. Bit of a misplay there from Built by Gamers. Wardell could get out scot-free without being punished at all by the attackers.
Yeah, if there's one man you don't want to leave unchecked, it's probably Wardell. I will have to say that in some of their recent matches, Sabrosa has definitely been keeping up with him, though. He hasn't been the sort of hard carry we saw sometimes in the past. This round, though, he's looking to try and maybe do it all on his own. Looking to try and destroy the lockdown, which he will. Now, well, as you mentioned, there's been some problems where they get a little bit stuck in the mud. Sabrosa's actually got a wide face. Definitely feeling confident. And while in a 5 versus 2 situation, you can understand why. It does give them some space to try and back through mid. But there's a real chance that some of these players are going to get isolated. Hazed makes an aggressive play, and, well, luckily for him, he trades 1-for-1. If he went down there, it would have been a bit more of a problem. However, for Foe, I just don't see how he gets away with this. The aggressive positioning that's already been taken by Cutler is going to make things nigh on impossible. And he's got to get past this corner of Wardell first. Oh, you know what? He's got away with that. However, Cutler is quick to trade.
Could have even got a frag onto Cutler there if he was lucky. Pulling out the knife and then had to quickly get it again. So these open opportunities. Built by Gamers, unfortunately, isn't really a team known for insanely clutching out. We saw Exet yesterday with Arin, with Pura. They were players that can just pop off at a moment's notice. It was shown for Gen G, right? That kind of player changed how Gen G looked completely. Built by gamers, that is Will. A lot of pressure is on his shoulders. He does have an Empress ready to go. But if they can get the plant down, Hazed is there with the lockdown for a retake, so might be sitting passive, giving up the B site completely because they are just reading these really good executes from Built by Gamers. Quite happy to give up the site for them if they go in that direction. More than happy for them to play the retake.
Yeah, you can see the consistent switch up in setups from TSM. It's going to make things relatively tough to read. Last round was much more aggression into mid. Now they're trying to hold it from the short control. And Rob Wiz, is he going to expect 2 players to be this close? Bit of utility being expended by the Omen might give him a slight idea of roughly where that's coming from, but realistically, the rest of the team have now actually opted to pressure onto that open mid position. They're going to get scanned up, though. That's a hell of a lot of information going back the way of TSM.
Oh, big
Although they
kill.
are going to teleport back in. That's Haze down, and now they can actually clear out the remainder of the site. Again, it's going to be an advantageous situation on this B side. And as you mentioned, they've looked pretty solid here so far.
And the lockdown's not in play as well, so that pick up to Haze just means that they've got such a bigger opening. No ultimates available for TSM for this retake. He has stretched across the map, but it's where this Silver is. This is where Critical is going to be playing from. Drone's going to try and flank around, but if he can keep being annoying, Will can at least get one. Now it's just going to be the 2 on site, pretty much trying to take this fight. How much can Foe do on his own, right at the back? TSM are coming in. There is a Hunter's Fury available. Can't be many flashes left from Vice as well. Cutler, nice shot to clear it. There's plenty of time for the defuse. Really good retake from TSM. They didn't have much to work with, but they cleared all of those annoying plays from BBG on that site.
I'm very surprised they actually do that almost as well as they did. Like, that was not only a 5v4, but I think the initial kill on the retake actually goes the way of BBG. I think it was mainly Wardell's double and a quick flank that was coming in at the same time that combines together to get them all the picks they need. But you kind of have to look at BBG in that situation and go, okay, that's a round that after you have that site locked down, you really shouldn't be giving it away. Especially, as you mentioned, there were no ultimates used. That was almost just pure firefights. That was just battles between different players. And all BBG really had to do was trade effectively, which, unfortunately for them, they didn't.
Rob was expecting a recon bolt. I don't think he's going to be expecting Wardell on the top right here. Drone is there to set up a little bit of a crossfire at least, so they should be good for one. Not looking in that direction. Yeah, it's just going to be a massacre. Not a big buy for Built by Gamers either, I don't think, with a couple of Spectres and Stingers. This is already not looking good for the attacking team.
And these switch-ups in positions have definitely now caught them out a few times. Wardell has been all over the map. He's had pressure in mid, playing towards A. I think maybe we haven't seen him on the B side, but I guess that's normally the one you lock down with all the different utility.
Are they leaving the spike? Must be. Trying to wrap around, potentially. Maybe even if they could just pull a few of TSM away from the site, but clearly they must see that that's the spike on the ground. They are not moving. They're not going to go try and hunt. That's a big thing about these top seeds in the groups, is they have been respecting their opponents. There's not really been too many upsets other than Gen G, but there's still an adjustment period, I suppose. So Bros is watching, but gets traded out by Critical in the meanwhile. But they know where he is. It's a case of if he could get a frag potentially at this point, that's all he can really hope for, I think.
Yeah, I feel like there's more of a reason on this patch, at least, to save your gun rather than going back. Because obviously, with the patch that will be coming up soon, if you do save, you only get 1,000 in the bank. So it's much more of a, if you have a rifle, maybe you save. If your team can buy in the next round, you consider it. Whereas now, you still get a relatively decent amount of loss bonus in these rounds. So especially after they've lost as many as they had, you kind of think maybe just keeping the gun would have been better. Instead, we're going to get another mixed bag buy. And, yeah, basically they're relying on Will to get them a hell of a lot of openers. But after what was a strong start, this has been a real swing back. And Wardell, you can see the confidence growing. As said, he's been all over the map, but now he's looking to try and take control of their portion of it. He had a lot of support, though. And that means this swing back is actually just going to run them straight back into the blender. A couple of kills may not be too bad for a round like this. In fact, Critical making it 3 players dropped is going to cause some cost. The only problem is, with how many rounds have now gone in a row for TSM, we kind of stopped talking too much about their finances. Because even though they only had 2 players surviving here, they're still going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, Cutlass pretty much almost stacked up on cash. It's 5 rounds in a row. They take the lead for the first time in this series. Lots of ultimates for Build by Gamers to work with, though. And I think one thing that I noted from their games before is they do tend to overthink themselves a little bit. It really is a case of continue to maybe hit this B execute because it's so good. It's got TSM concerned about it, hence why Hayes is playing off of the site. Still has that lockdown, hasn't used it since. And hopefully this Aldron at least catches some bros in this position. Otherwise, we have a repeat of what happened before with Wardell.
Oh yeah, Wardell, again, he's gone pushing all the way through A. So this is so much information that he's already gathered up for the rest of his team. They don't really need to hold any players here. And Subrosa now takes the spot in mid instead. What? I don't even know how he gets 2 kills there, but we're going to move on as the rest of the team are trying to make their way in towards this B site. They're getting hit by a Hunter's Fury, and they are being absolutely slaughtered. A flawless round for TSM. It seems like it's taken a little bit of time to maybe get the engine cooking a little bit, because at the moment, this is dominant.
That spray transfer from Subrosa was dirty. And I say that after we casted on this very map the Odin Ace yesterday with Mitch. That's going in a collection. That's going in a folder somewhere. He has his From the Shadows ready to go as well for Subrosa. But there's not really any need to use it. Build by Gamers used a lockdown on that last push. But they aren't really punishing mid. That's the second time that they've not checked that corner and got punished for it. It's just areas like this that it's a small mistake from Build by Gamers. But teams like TSM are just going to punish that every single day. Now Critical is checking every single corner, but doesn't check that one. And that's where Subrosa is.
Everyone.
Not again! Come on!
Oh, what? 2 rounds in a row? Are you kidding me? Oh, Subrosa just stopped. This is filth. He gets 4. Doesn't quite manage to close out with the ace, but I'm sure he's going to have a cheeky grit. Oh, and they've detected. Oh, don't do it, Tim. Come on. This is just mean. Critical suffered enough. Oh, Hayes coming in with it with the bullying. That's all we can really put it down to. That was bullying.
Subrosa. That was... I just can't believe it happened pretty much the same way. Lightning doesn't strike twice, but apparently it does if you're TSM. That was great.
Subrosa does.
Yeah. He's just... But he was one of the better players, I think, in the open qualifiers. He was a Brimstone main originally and had a lot of stuff done on that role. I remember the 5K... Was it 4K or 5K he had on this map from lurking? And he's not IGLing anymore, so it means that he can just relax a little bit, play in these positions. He gets another one because, of course, he does. Fortunately, Foe puts him out of his misery before he could do too much damage, but it's a 3 versus 3. A Hunter's Fury is available on this attack. It would be great if they could make this 7-5. It's been TSM for the last 8 rounds.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath. Like, just individual duel after individual duel. Will's Empress gets shut down within a matter of seconds. It's always painful to see that happen. You save up all your lovely ult points, and then 1 bullet to the face is all it takes. Now, Hayes is slowly getting isolated. Doesn't manage to find a pick, but does some extra damage onto the Omen at least. The remaining 2 players, though, are already here on a rotation. No ultimates available other than Foes into the shadows, but realistically, I don't know how useful that's going to be. Maybe just for information, he might be able to find out something. Maybe he's actually going to go back to the spawn, but doesn't spot anybody rotating. That's because they're already far closer than they might expect. The spam through the wall as well. So much information gathered, and that gives him the ultimate, but it misses slightly. It may not matter, though. They're both pushing him at once. It's on to Rob to try and hold this. A 1v2 to give them a 5th. He's left so blind. And it just seemed like in that retake, every single little detail, every piece of utility by TSM was used to perfection.
It was really good movement from Rob Wiz to avoid the ultimate, but that recon bolt on the back of sight gave him away completely. All 3 pulses of the recon bolt hitting. We're going to be able to see some of these bright moments from the first half. Built by Gamers had such a good start too. 4-0 for the last 8 rounds in a row. have all been TSM. I think we've decided that we're not showing them because the Sabrosa ones were too dirty. Here they are. And this is a really good side from the attackers, certainly these first couple of rounds, but Sabrosa here. That's one.
This was 8 rounds in a row, right?
This is 2. Yep.
Ooh.
All headshots. You want to learn how to spray transfer, that's
Don't
the guy
do
to
it.
watch.
I knew they were going to show that again. I knew they were going to show that again.
There is a saving grace for Built by Gamers, and that is that TSM's attacking side on this map isn't great. They were 2-10 against Gen G and 0-7 against Cloud9. Granted, they are the bigger teams.
Yeah.
They were handy in beating 100 Thieves, handy in beating Renegades. But it is just a bit of an opportunity for Built by Gamers to play. And their defensive halves aren't too bad either. But I think they need to win this pistol.
Yeah, I think they need some confidence back as well, because a lot of the rounds we see them play on this map, they do like to get aggressive, as we saw from TSM. So we'll see if they can recreate a little bit of that magic. Wardell, though, he's on the hunt, looking for the player underneath, and clears it out all too easily. The first pick goes their way, and it will allow for an after plant position. Drone will sort that. With the shutters closing, it's about to become a little bit more difficult. They're going to know that Rob Wiz is around the angle. They don't have the greatest of utility to get back into this. Nice shot onto Sabrosa, though. That will at least even things up, but the time is ticking. They need to move faster, and Cutler, while moving, finds one. It's still getting traded back, though, and things are starting to slip through the fingers of TSM. This pistol could be going in the other direction. Maybe another strong start to this half as they get it halfway. It's left onto Hayes. He's got his turret to support him. Needs the final shot. And there's going to be just about enough time. They've already got it halfway, so it'll be fine. A 5th round, another pistol as well. Remember, it was a 4-0 start for BBG before TSM came back. Can they convert everything once again and get themselves back into the match?
And the retakes for Built by Gamers on the A site especially are pretty decent. You might see it a little bit now with Rob Wiz over on A. What he might do is look down A main. If he sees something, he just runs. He just absolutely legs it to like tree and garden to play pure retake. It's just a case of check. Are the people there? Are they going to execute quickly? Good. Let's back off. Let them take the site, and then we'll just play as a 5-stack in this retake. This is another still important round. TSM aren't the kind of team that usually forces up anyway. Certainly isn't going to be the case for Hazed here. But they still need to have their wits about them. They're playing a lot of suicide angles, and if the right utility is used here from Hazed and Nanoswarm in that corner, it's an easy pick onto the Reyna for BBG.
Yeah, again, this is a round where I feel like they don't even want to lose too many players. This has to be a money-making round going into more of a bonus round as we saw previously. As said, they got off to a very strong start in the last half. They can do the same here. As said, like, the scoreline will look very almost flattering considering what we saw for the last 8 rounds of the previous half. Bo, in a good position, but the Stinger is one that can get fairly easily overwhelmed, especially with how quickly you lose those bullets. And actually, we've got a hero weapon for Wardell going for the taps, and he's going to take down 2 already. Now the pistols do overwhelm that Stinger, and things are starting to fall apart a little bit here. It gets traded over, and Bior's now the only man standing, trying to turn this back, and he has been able to find 2. The man on the other side, though, Drone, is left with just a classic.
He's got a flash.
Fully healed up, though, but he gets him. That is filth. Just a couple of taps to the face, and TSM, with a single Guardian, managed to win themselves a 9th.
All started with Wardell with the Guardian. What did I say? He's got to keep a hold of it. And that's so difficult if you're Built by Gamers. You want to win those rounds. You really need to bring yourself back into it. Especially if you could get a few together, much like the start of the last round. There is an Empress available for Will. He's going to have a frenzy. He's 10-10, but might want to wait for the better guns. Some really good play on the attack there. You know, Drone is great. He's one of the better Phoenixes in the region. And his breach is starting to improve to that level as well. Robboy's trying to make a play happen, but the Killjoy turret's going to spot him out. Sabrosa's going to punish him for it. Nightmare scenario for Built by Game is really to be in this position.
Okay, this is a round where I haven't really got too much into it. I'm going to try and overwhelm Hazed. Even just grabbing this Vandal would be a nice little bonus, but instead he's going to peek back out, and they know exactly where Will is. In fact, they're starting to hunt him down. Breach flashes, forcing him out of the corner. They're even starting to spam through the walls, and eventually he will meet the same fate as the rest of his team. Double digits for TSM, and the comeback now, yeah, it looks kind of dead.
One thing I'm interested in is how much we see Sub Rosa in that lurking position. Because Build by Gamers, they've got an alarm bot in mid. That's pretty much all I dedicate to it, other than maybe going back to their spawn and jump peeking just to see if there's anybody there from Fountain. But Sub Rosa just ran rings around Steel in that 100 Thieves games, right? He was just punishing the Killjoy's utility by smoking it off. Now, Build by Gamers know that they're going to be hit fairly quickly, at least they're going to back off, but nice change of pace from TSM. They have a rolling thunder, so Build by Gamers need to try and spread out as much as possible, not get punished by this ultimate. But Foe might run into Sub Rosa, who is just right around this corner. Ooh, that was close for Rob Wiz. He could have got a kill there.
Not far away, but unfortunately you don't really win anything for not far away. That's a nice peek though from Foe. Sub Rosa maybe slightly falling asleep. Will be caught out. And this is what we like to see from the defense. As I said, I feel like Built by Gamers are a confidence-based team. If they get rolling, they can be fairly difficult to stop, and they definitely have the individual skill. It's one of those teams, I said, like, if you're running a Jet and a Reyna combined, you need to be popping off. Like, you have some limitations when it comes to utility if both of those agents are in play. Rob Wiz is going to manage to win that duel, but he's been wrecked on the pass through, and Drone will just waltz his way in and steal a rifle. However, they are trading things out effectively, and only losing one player so far. The paranoia are going to leave them both stuck in the corner, and Will, he wants to take this fight. He wants to challenge his opponent in this corner, and they're going to jump in, fly through, and gain their 6th round.
Much better for BBG. Really good defense, proactive in their approach. They can't just let TSM do what they want to do. And mid is going to be a battleground. Like I mentioned before, Sub Rosa with the lurk is key. He had some big impact rounds in their games at least. But with such difficult losses against Gen G and Cloud9, there's clearly something that can be exploited here on this attack. And there's only 4 rounds between them, to be honest. Really is how they use these aggressive ultimates. Bladestorm not likely to be used, I don't think, by Rob Wiz, who's going to be contesting mid. And the Empress from Will, probably going to come out in a clutch scenario. But that could be any moment, any time against a team like TSM.
Cover going out.
Well, Sub Rosa, he likes to get cheeky around mid. Oh, the timing from Will. I like the idea, but unfortunately, he gets caught off by Sub Rosa's push through. Bior now trying to make another play through the smoke. Will he meet the same fate? Actually, no. I think he's going to catch out Drone.
Nice.
And even picks back and gets 3. I don't know how he gets away with that. But nonetheless, it leaves Cutler alone a minute. But he does have the spike.
A-side's open for business if you can get across. Build by Gamers might be happy to give it up. Just play pure retake. It's a side that they're really good on. They even have lockdown if they want to use it, but to be honest, is that likely? Probably not. They really don't want to use those ultimates. Cutler might just want to try and save the gun. What a great round, though, by Bior. That play was so quick, swinging around, punishing those flanks. After a really impressive lurk from Sub Rosa, who did exactly as we went over. Smoked off the alarm bot, pushed past it, and caught up the defenders in that position. 20 seconds left. He's still moving towards the site, but there are 2 people looking towards it. More of an aggressive angle of Bior in this corner. He'll be able to get more, but it's Foe that gets the frag. 10-7. I'm just glad that we have a really close game here, Tom, because for the most part, these top seeds versus bottom seeds in groups have been blowouts, as we saw before with our boys Spotter.
Yeah, the only thing I will say is just because we did see that 8-round streak in a row, like, it doesn't feel that close. Like, I don't feel like TSM have particularly lost control of this yet. I still think they're firmly in the driver's seat, and I think BBG have got a lot to prove if they are going to now grind this back. At the same time, plays like that, that's what gets the blood pumping. Like, that was ridiculous from Bjork. Like, if someone does that to me in a game of Valorant, they're getting reported within, well, 0.3 of a second, which is roughly how long it took for him to get that 3K.
Yes.
See you later, Wardell. Well,
There
actually,
was, I think it was the
Rosa's gone
Mamba
too.
mode. It was the MMG game where Critical with the Odin was top fragging. I think it was just a crazy performance. Rob Wiz has
Okay.
mid in control. He has the spike. Critical wanted to check these corners and at least manages to do so as Drone is there lurking.
Oh,
The
God.
spray is good, but Will is there to sort of peek him out again. And this is a buy from TSM. Wasn't the best economy in the world, but they still bought up, and they were on a flawless by Built by Gamers. What a great play from them. And an eco from TSM. 2 rounds to separate them, could easily be won, but remember the TSM had a really good half buy before they turned the tide against BBG. So it could go either way, but Critical 14-14 with the Odin. Gotta love it.
But this is the thing that I was sort of mentioning when we watched them play previously, is that BBG, like, they seem to thrive off confidence. Like, this round in particular was they get the opening pick, Will then goes for a face into mid, and moments later, Rob Wiz does almost exactly the same thing. Those are almost pure 1v1 duels that you're only going to be taking if you're feeling very confident, especially when you already have an advantage. So I like that we're starting to see that confidence, and in that round, TSM got caught off guard. They got caught out by these aggressive plays. Now for this, they are going to try and get themselves an execution on towards the A site, but there it is again. Rob Wiz just shutting down short. He's done a decent job, and TSM are going to have to fight back in this after plant situation. They will eventually get the spike down, but bear in mind, there isn't a whole lot of weaponry. I believe we might have a hero rifle in there as well. I think Wardell, it seemed like he might have had a Vandal, but other than that, this is not a good position for them. Slowly being caught out into the corners. Rob Wiz will get rid of that rifle, and they're slowly being picked apart, but 2 kills come back. I'm hoping that's all, just for the sake. And if he wins this battle, then I think I'll take the report onto Cutler as well, because a Stinger at that range, there should be no chance. 10-9. I did sort of count out BBG from this game, but hey, 3 rounds in a row for them now, and Brian, they're in this.
4 ultimates for Built by Gamers. They need to find impact because look at what's available from TSM. Rolling Thunder, Lockdown, Hunter's Fury. These ultimates that can easily open up a site with a frag or a stun. And with the fact that TSM are all stacking towards A, nice little cubby spot. You can put the Lockdown to take control of the site. Hunter's Fury through Tree and Garden, Rolling Thunder onto the site. Don't think they're going to use them all at once. But this is an oncoming storm from TSM now. Built by Gamers, especially this position from Pure. He could get caught out hard here. If he gets one, that would be insane.
No, it's not gone too great. 2 players dropped, and on the entries, TSM seem like they might come back to prominence. It's aggressive from Wardell, but he catches Will out. 5v2 situation, and although they do have some decent cash built up over the last few rounds, even just keeping these weapons in play might be worthwhile. It seems like they plan to try and do some damage, but Rob Wiz realizing the operator is far more valuable than that. So after a 3-round streak, TSM are going to be back into, or extending their lead, I guess you could say, as they go up 11-9.
Rob Wiz is going to be caught between a rock and a hard place. Rose is coming through the B site. Just wants to hold on to this gun. He has 3 angles to check, but it's Wardell who gets his 3rd. Really good execute. Bit of a misread, I suppose, from Built by Gamers. If you're in that position and you see those 3 ultimates online for TSM, you don't want to play close. You don't want to play in face on site, ideally. Because a Lockdown is either going to be forced to move you, a Hunter's Fury can easily tag you, a Rolling Thunder is just going to stun you and you're stuck in that corner. So, bit of a weird play from Built by Gamers, but they have plenty of ultimates themselves. I think now we're going to see them play off the site. And luckily, their money is still good from the near enough flawless rounds that they won on their defense. But this is a key round. Built by Gamers win this. They're going to do this with the Hunter's Fury. Must tag on to somebody. He's getting a lot of info and knows it's going to be a big hit, but can't get a frag.
It's an almost identical play, but they might be denied here. It's going to be the Hunter's Fury just being put back through, and that will get rid of the lockdown. That will stop them being forced off of the site. And bear in mind, in this afterplant situation, there's still a rolling thunder available for drones. So this could be a pretty rough situation for Built by Gamers to get back into. There is the rolling thunder forcing them out, but actually, they're going to be denied. The Nano Swarm holds them back. However, Sub Rosa finds a pick, but he's alone at this point, and Cutler gets forced off the angle as well. We sit in a 3 versus 3. Turret won't last long at all, and Rob Wiz has just managed to kill one off with the classic, isolating both players underneath the balcony. However, they're running through the smoke to find them, and that's actually going to give Hazed a couple of kills. He's left on 70 HP, the spike's ticking low, and Hazed is going to close out the round. It comes very close for BBG, but it is not enough.
Made TSM sweat a little bit. It's unfortunate, really, that the lockdown play was countered hard by TSM, who pretty much saved that ultimate for that occasion, was forced to use the rolling thunder that didn't find much at all. BBG, this is their best chance. This is their map choice. It's the map that they look the best on, certainly compared to Haven. And they have a judge. Critical's going to be in with the Odin at least. How they're going to play this is going to be super interesting. It's just a Blade Storm for TSM. They haven't been hitting A. Drone has been lurking at this point. Could be caught out by the judge that's going to be looking within the smoke. But it's whether they expect it as TSM. The rest of them, at least, are going to be hitting B.
Nothing spotted as they look to try and updraft through the window. Or peek through the window, I should say. Critical has taken some pretty hefty damage, but they've held back the push for now. A little bit more patient from the remaining players, and actually a lot of information being found. On the other side of things, though, Cutler's going to go lurking into the smoke. Now, bear in mind, we've already mentioned this judge once, and it is still sat behind it. It's always behind the smokes. But there's no real risks being taken here from TSM. They don't want to go aggressively pushing through up until the point where those smokes have faded. Foe still in a very good position, though. It's an instant headshot from Cutler, however. An opener that they needed, and Rob Wiz is going to re-aggress, try and do it all on his own. He's found 2, and he escapes as well. Left. A huge play from the Jet, and there's been a trade back. Still a 2v2 situation for the side of TSM, and they will be able to get the afterplant in. Now, if there was any time to bring out the Empress, I feel like it's now. This is map point, however, Drone is just pushed aggressively. He's taking those fights, he's looking to end it, but he won't quite be able to, and that's health back up for Will, leaving it into the 1v1. An almost instant headshot needed from Sub Rosa, or this classic could do enough, and will keep it going. One more round at least, as it's a 10th for BBG, and they managed to hold on.
Oh, Built by Gamers, by the skin of their teeth. That lurk was so good from Drone when he was there the whole time. TSM putting pressure early on to B, getting those A players into position on Cubby and A main. Built by Gamers just had to clutch it out. Some really good plays from TSM, but Built by Gamers, what a great retake. What a great clutch from Will. But other than that, they don't have much to work with. A Blade Storm is almost available for Rob Wiz from the shadows for Foe, but realistically, how's it going to be used? I mean, there might be a clutch moment here or there. But TSM's money is still good. If they do lose this, though, that's a great opening for Built by Gamers to bring this onto overtime. Because TSM are hanging by a thread when it comes to the money that they have.
Some initial Killjoy utility forces Rob Wiz back at least a millimeter, but then he goes pushing straight through anyway. This could be a problem. That's so much information gathered. He gets caught out by Wardell. Maybe becoming a little bit too predictable. His opponents have found him early, and will give them a 5v4.
It forces the Silver to be jump peeking from Fountain just to check who's mid. There is Sub Rosa there. He might be able to surprise him at this point, but Critical has been so good so far. He can hear where Sub Rosa is from the firing, so he has an advantage, but he has the Vandal. His sprays are easily seen, so he can't stay there for long. The Execute's gonna come out from TSM. They have it from the shadows to teleport to the back of the site if they want to. But no, he's lurking through. Bjor's gonna be a pain on the judge, but look at Sub Rosa's positioning. He stopped this rotation coming through. This is a mess for Built by Gamers, but they're hanging on still.
Yeah, there is that flank. Eventually, they will be able to get themselves a spike down. It was a little bit of calamity as they do eventually clear out the judge. And the spray through the smoke, which was almost too perfect. The problem now is once again we're looking at a map point, an initial take coming out from TSM, and Will, he's one of the members left in this clutch situation once again. But they need to clear out Sub Rosa. It's going to be easier said than done. He's still lurking around the backlines, and I'm not sure they even know he's here at this point. Still just taking their time, and Bo, he will check it. Will's found a kill as well. It's left all onto Drone once again. This time, a slightly more favorable 1v1, but he still needs to hit his shots. Will trying to keep them in this map once more, but they're dancing back and forth. He's found the kill, but he doesn't have the time. TSM are going to take themselves the victory. A close fought one by BBG.
There's habits, I suppose, that BBG can exploit. But this is going to be two aggressive teams, double duelist on either side, playing into each other. Will was really good on Ascent, but this would be a grand old time to have like a Sean level game, to be honest, on this kind of role.
I do love how Wardell has just tweeted out that that was rifle practice. Like that's what he's genuinely just said about that last map. And to be fair, I don't remember him picking up the operator, so
no.
He might even be telling the truth.
Might see a little bit more on Haven at least, and this is a pretty open site for TSM to push through. But they do this a lot. They did this against 100 Thieves. They stacked in this corner. Same play with the Phoenix, but RobWiz is actually good for 2. Was expecting that play potentially, was sat very far back holding onto the site. The execute's going to come in with the 3 surviving members of TSM. And Built by Gamers, I mentioned it, retakes were good on Ascent. Pretty much the same case here as well on Haven.
Blinding.
Yeah, it would be a bit of a shame if they lost it now. It seemed like they were prepared. RobWiz was floating through the air. Cutler has managed to find a couple, but surely that's all she wrote for this round. Really nice pistol from RobWiz, and as said, like, he's someone I think that it's not even just like in other matches where, oh, maybe he needs to pop up. It's a necessity that he plays well alongside Will as well. And I was actually that sort of play that came in before from Bior. If they can get him online, especially on someone like a Killjoy, this could be a fairly interesting map. Of course, it is just a pistol. I'm pretty sure at this point they've won every single pistol, so I'm not really gonna count too much of it just yet.
It's the rounds afterwards that start to be a bit more 50-50 for the teams. TSM winning out a few, not really even forces, just Sheriff buys like we're seeing here. Just a bright opening, getting those first kills, which you were so good at on Ascent, would be the opening. And not too much respect shown from Built by Gamers. They're willing to face, but that's what happens when you try and do that. Sub Rosa domes RobWiz towards B, but Will is there to try and maybe trade out. Could be a second for Sub Rosa here, easily.
They managed to win the second round of the second half with a hero Guardian, which, I'll be honest, I don't think I've said that before. It doesn't happen very often that someone wins you a round solely off the back of a Guardian. But this round, at least, well, we'll wait and see. I don't think we've seen what Wardell has purchased just yet. Normally, it is somewhat of a minor investment for the majority of the side, possibly putting something into utility, and then we get that Sheriff into Sub Rosa. Nice little peek coming out, though, and Cutler's actually got one of his own. They're making things costly at least. There's already 2 players dropped, and actually a very, very likely spike plant.
Depends on what utility at this point Built by Gamers have available. We'll probably wait for Recon Bot to come online. We can at least get there, but Will just gets flashed at the worst time. Cutler can get the frag. It's a 4 versus 2, but the guns are still in the hands of Built by Gamers at this point. Maybe a couple were picked up by TSM, but Drone's happy to sit in the smoke. Doesn't have any flashes, and it's just a case of finding critical. He's got the Ares. Another eco win from TSM on these rounds where they've been so good at them, and Built by Gamers are going to be kicking themselves yet again. This is how they won on Ascent.
Yeah, that one wasn't even a real investment. Like, that was just some sheriffs. And then they managed to make it almost look easy. It looked like they were the ones with their sort of second round purchase and the other team had the eco. So, yeah, Built by Gamers this time not going to be going off to the flying start. Bear in mind, they went 4-0 in the last map and lost the half 8-4. So, getting off to a strong start is actually fairly important. That is true. It was the other way round.
So Rosa gets an easy entry and is looking to add to a second with that frag onto Bjorn. Economy's not good for Build Back Gamers. It's a case of go in and get what you can get done at least. Sabrosa knows that Will is in this corner to the point that he's happy to teleport, but Wardell backs him up. It would have been a stylistic play, but it's a near enough flawless round for TSM in a 5 versus 1 now as Sabrosa gets his third.
They died underneath.
And that's been a big difference, really. Build by Gamers haven't been able to get too much done on some of their eco buys, even just getting a couple of frags to ruin TSM's economy. TSM could just win rounds off of their half buys. Rob Wiz has got the operator, and Wardell still practicing his rifles, apparently.
Yeah, I guess in this round being more of a bonus for them, they're not really going to invest fully into this round. I imagine as well in the last round that Sabrosa was not happy that that kill was stolen from him. Seems like the whole team are looking to try and style a little bit on Built by Gamers. But this is what I enjoyed about the defensive side of Built by Gamers in the last map was they were very happy to go for little pieces of aggression here and there. And Will has done that in mid already. The rest of the team fairly reliant on Bior to try and hold off that A side of the map. And in fact, they're stacking the majority of their players in towards C, expecting that to be the end point for TSM.
Look at this aggressive play from Will, though. He's in the cubby just outside of B. They're very happy to sort of sit in that position. I might be a bit slow to the party. Could maybe pincer and wrap around this push. Robwiz has no information to work with here. The Eldron got used. And the Recon Bolt's not going to be present because the Sova Critical is playing in Garage. But that's a lot of information as Robwiz is able to at least get one onto Wardell. Could get a second and got so much information. Paranoia is going to come through by foe and he's going to put a smoke there. Would force TSM to use a bit more utility to break onto this site. But even in a 3 versus 5, I'm still scared of TSM.
I'm very surprised that they're even still trying to fight this. I guess it's because of the Spike's position and somewhat being unable to get away. Also, as said, this is a bit of a bonus round, but you spotted the operator. You even got the dart off to tell you that there was a second player there, and they just continue to try and challenge versus the likes of BBG. Well, this time, it's not going to be any heroics whatsoever. In fact, Cutler is just looking to try and hold on to this remaining rifle. I'm going to start putting pressure onto him. In fact, they'll clean up every single gun. Great round from BBG, a solid read from the get-go. And now for TSM, this will be the buyback.
And it was a little bit frigid from TSM there. They weren't putting pressure across the map in different areas. They were just hokey-cokeying on C, to be honest. Pushed a little bit forward, moved back, pushed again, tried to reset and stuff, and nothing was really able to happen. Now the operator's in play. Let's see if Wardell was just mincing his words a little bit. Will we see the explosion happen? Especially attack operating too. It's certainly not going to be as easy as it used to be. Robwiz is going to try and face with a lot of pressure on A long. A lot of bodies looking down there. And Will actually feasting on the obs to bring up the Empress as soon as possible. Has it now. But to be honest, I think he only used it once on Ascent, right? He held onto it quite a lot.
Drone has gone dashing through, expending utility, trying to sell this as a take of the C site. And with nothing being spotted, he did a pretty good job. But in fact, they've now decided to actually just commit to this site. It was initially a fake. This was just an attempt to pull players away towards C. But because they spotted nobody there, they go, wow, we've got the from the shadows. Let's just teleport into the site and get the spike after plant position. They've got all their remaining players on C long. It's not a situation where I'd normally be calling for a save, but the fact is, I don't see a way the BBG get back into this round, though. They're going to give it a go, as they already start smoking off angles, throwing down lots of extra utility, but they'll have to line up onto the plant, or at least you'd expect Drone is already going to kill off one diffuser, and as they try to fight back in, they are slowly being slaughtered by TSM. A bit of a poor round from BBG in the end, like abandoning that site, it was a big gamble. And unfortunately for them, it didn't pay off at all.
Really strange round from TSM, though. Using the run it back, Drone could see that the site is pretty much open, but they also used the Hunter's Fury that catches nobody. So yeah, whilst they sort of realized that the site's open and they can plant there, a lot of ultimates were dedicated to a pretty open site. So Build by Gamers wanted to maybe save, like you sort of said, but that kind of plant and the way that TSM played there, it was going to be so difficult to push on through. Now Sabrosa is going to have an operator. holding on, but Drone is the first to get a kill. Will could trade him out as he still has a Vandal. So more of a central fight if you're looking on the minimap with all of the players. Robwiz trying to go up with a classic to try and face off against Cutler, I think, that's in that corner.
Take flight.
Or slowed down, Tom.
Yeah, it's a fairly cagey round, obviously, for TSM's perspective. They know they have an inherent advantage here. The fact is, you can see your opponent's economy going into this round. They will know they haven't invested, so we now sit in a position where they don't really want to give any of this weaponry away. Hayes is already going to be able to pick out one, but the push through the smoke actually hands a frag over to Will. They will be able to get out of there without too much trouble, although Sub Rosa has been tagged down to 30 HP. They've got to be pretty careful here, because sure, it may only be a classic on one of the players and a rifle for Will, but realistically, this is a round that can still slip away. Now, the Cloudburst has completely missed, so if there was anybody in heaven, that would be a problem, but luckily, Wardell, maybe he was just psyching him out. He was big-braining him, because Will has walked straight into his operator. And I think Robwiz is actually just going to save the secondary. And that was something I was going to question at the beginning of the round. Both Sub Rosa and Wardell were playing with operators.
Bit overzealous. I think a bit of disrespect onto Built by Gamers here.
It might
this
have
is around,
up, to be fair.
Maybe. Just hold on to it, make the most out of it. Practice your operator if you're Sub Rosa, I guess. Might as well. But that was a round that Built by Gamers could have won. I don't necessarily like how Robwiz and Will split up. I understand that they want to keep an eye on both sites to hit a plant out. But you look at the health of Sub Rosa. Wardell was 66 HP. That's a fight that you can win, especially when Will had a rifle still. And Robwiz is going to be holding on to this all. I think it was the save before, so yeah, it's going to be a full, complete buy for Built by Gamers. And they do have a couple of ultimates, big ones coming online. Hunter's Fury in one. Lockdown is also available with one ultimate point. And I think that might be something that Bjor is looking to do. Could push down A main, grab that ult orb, and just sit pretty there from then on out. But he has none of his team supporting him. There's going to be a lot of pressure down C long. This could be a bit of a crazy fight with Drone leading the charge for TSM.
Oh, dear Lord. Within a matter of seconds, almost the whole Built by Gamers roster is dead. 3 men gone. TSM just continuing their reign of terror, and I'm starting to worry for BBG. After the first map, we saw some competitive rounds from them, but stuff like that just can't happen, and Drone just continues his push. A third killed for him in the round, an easy fifth, and bear in mind, that was a buy as well. That wasn't like that they just had some pistols and they were trying something a bit spicy. They tried to get aggressive and face into TSM, and Drone was having none of it.
It obviously wasn't a read, really, but Drone had the right idea. Completely caught out Built by Gamers. There's 3 ultimates for this defense, and a bit of a wonky buy when you have Stingers on the board as well as the op from Robwiz. Hoping to maybe play around some of these ultimates that they have available, but to run it back is in hands now of Drone. He's going to have the spike in hand. He's going to give it to a teammate, I think, because he wants to push on ahead. Going down short with his 3 defenders from Built by Gamers. This is going to be a mess. The operator misses, and Drone is trying to get some damage in. Luckily, Cutler's there to sort of build him up, but Bjor gets completely missed. He gets free. He just snuck by. This could be a crazy ace. What the hell is Bjor doing?
That's unbelievable. Bjor just comes out of nowhere. I think before this round, he had 1 kill. So
it's just completely.
He had 2. He had 2. Let's put it that way. Yeah, they just ran right past him, and then he manages to not only get the 2 players there, but wait for the run it back to, well, run back to its initial spot, and Bjor now tops the board for his side. A huge round, and what was a position where realistically they shouldn't have got away with anything. The initial kills went the way of TSM, but a slight blip on the radar, a slip up, and as said last map, this now has to be the start of something for BBG. And you know what? Maybe it is, because Robwiz is going to start things off with another pick with the operator.
This is what we all came to see. Built by Gamers are starting to rise to this occasion. The tempo is slowed completely down. TSM now, I don't think there's going to be any disrespected tweets right now coming out of anybody. And they even use that run it back that caught nothing from drone. It's just going to be an open execute. The site is pretty much completely clear other than that turret. It's more of a canary in the coal mine, really, for Built by Gamers who are happy to play for the retake. They have a Hunter's Fury too, and they've placed down the lockdown. Nothing really that TSM could do about it. They just have to back off to the site, find these little hobble hole that Wardell was in, and then Nano Swamp can be deadly. But he was expecting it. This kind of level of experience Built by Gamers, you've got to do a little bit better in those scenarios.
Already, they've got someone on the defusal, but eventually he will be killed off. They've got it to halfway, though, so bear that in mind, that they could still get this defusal through, and they are picking them apart. A wonderful retake coming out from BBG, and they get every single kill within a matter of seconds.
And here we were thinking that TSM were just becoming more and more comfortable. Another 8 rounds in a row like we saw on Ascent. Built by Gamers aren't having any of it. The more rounds they get on this defense, the better, but the money is still good from Team Solo Mid. Ultimates looking likely to come online soon. Wardell might have the Blade Storm, but with the Operate in hand, that's going to be his weapon of choice. You're going to be trying to face as much as possible on A, just spraying just in case there's somebody there, and Drone almost catches him out with the flash. And this is a lot of pressure that BBG have to deal with. They have players on C causing a nuisance with Wardell and the Operator. They've got Drone pushing up A. This is a big ask, and that is a big loss of RobWiz with the Operator going down.
Yeah, they've got to be careful. They can't give too much ground over to Wardell, otherwise things can quite easily fall apart. Critical. Ooh. It's going to do a fair amount of damage and actually almost traces him through. Wardell caught out, and now the man advantage swings into the favor of BBG. They've started to put on a real show, but they have lost the A site. The spike slowly rotating in, and some counter utility will deny them, at least for the moment. They've got to be careful because he stood right in the Nano Swarm. Has a second one, but unfortunately, I don't think it's quite going to reach the plant, but actually have shot darts going over the top as well. A combination of utility, making things so awkward for TSM. But that one wasn't even a retake. They denied the plant for the North American powerhouse.
TSM were caught completely off guard. Will is ready to go with the Empress, but going into the penultimate round of this half, the last bit of money that TSM have available is going into it. If they lose this, they're going to be going into round 12 with so little. Cutler, Hunter's Fury, good to go. Wardell has that Blade Storm, hence why he hasn't picked up a gun. It's going to come out near enough instantly. Built by Gamers looking to put some very quick pressure onto A, which has been very aggressive on the side of TSM with Drone there, but he is pushing towards C.
Oh, an early trade. Gonna give a lot of information over to the defensive side. They know that it isn't an A hit, at least for now, and in fact, it's actually quite hard to tell where the offense is going to be going. The main reason for that is that Wardell has managed to sneak his way all the way through, and it's the Blade Storm to find 2 quick headshots. Now they clear out Bior, and it's left on to Rob. The turret's actually going to help him out, though. Bior, after death, is going to have the turret picking off 1. This gives a much better opportunity for RobWiz, and he might be able to catch a player if they cross, but a smart use of the Blaze will deny him any information about where these players have gone. He can gamble, he can guess. They probably head in the direction of long. The thing is, though, the plant is not ideal. In fact, he might just want to look to stick the defuse, but there is the Hunter's Fury tagging him down. He manages to dodge away from it the second time, and actually now it's utilized. He can just go back to the plant. He's trying to bait them in, but I think he could have just stuck that one. Instead, he opts to kill off Drone and tries to get his way back towards the defusal. Maybe his opponent not knowing it's halfway, but unfortunately this time it won't quite work out. Cutler will close, giving them a 6-5 lead at least. The fact is, going in even though, really wouldn't be too bad for BBG.
Their attacking side for BBG isn't as ideal as their defense looking at previous games, but to be honest, this isn't the Built by Gamers that we've seen through First Strike. This is something else. TSM look worried. There's a few mistakes in their play that post plant could have gone really badly for them because they banked on that ultimate. Rob Wiz almost played around it. With Scrappy, he's got another operator in his hand. TSM needed to win that round because the economy was so bad for them. So many ultimates available, they all need to come online now.
Well, Drone is already going to catch out Will, and Bior has met the same fate. It's a fast couple of openers, but the spike's been dropped. Rob Wiz has evened things up a little bit. The neural theft gives a lot of information, and the timing couldn't be better. However, Rob is looking to try and fight this back all on his own. Finds his second kill. The push in the meantime from Cutler will gain them access to this site, but are they going to clear the angles properly? Eventually they will. The Owl Drone giving information over, and Rob Wiz has now been caught. It's left all onto Critical to try and save the last round of the half. And unfortunately, again, it's not going to be the case. It's 7-5 in favor of TSM. Definitely a closer half with a 3-round streak coming in towards the end of it for BBG. But can they do it on the attacking side? That's the question, Ryan.
Looking at the GoPuff replays, at least, we can see that Built by Gamers have been keeping it so close in between them. Really nice play from Rob Wiz. But it's just rounds like this where TSM are, taking control. But this is the magical Bior ace. You could just see how lopsided it was. Holds there so he doesn't get flashed. Gets an easy kill. The right click picks up the gun. All in the blink of an eye. That is one of the best aces that I've ever seen, but it was really good for Built by Gamers. The problem going into the attacking half is if you look at their game with MMG, they went 1-11. And they're hoping to at least do a little bit better by playing a bit more aggressively. Drone wants to face them, but luckily he has to heal to keep himself alive. Built by Gamers turning up the heat a little.
Well, Rob Wiz with the flank will give them access to the C side, but the rotation's very, very quick from TSM. There's already 3 players in the mix and 1 player holding for any sort of lurk. They've dropped 2 players already, and Wardell somehow managed to dance his way around the site and survive slightly longer than expected. 2v1 now as it's left onto Sub Rosa, but Bior and Rob Wiz are going to get them another pistol. This has been their forte. They've been so good at winning pistol rounds. In fact, thus far, they are still flawless in pistol rounds. However, their record on second rounds is not quite as good.
This is the most important round after pistols that BBG may ever have, because this could dictate this half for them, get them feeling more confident. And TSM haven't bought up much, considering a ghost on the side of Drone, and Cutler even might be hoping for a shorty. It's still changing their mind even going into the last couple of seconds, but the Bucky is in play for Wardell. The big gamble is position already given up at his 30 HP. Can't expect TSM would be able to get much out of here, but you never know at this point. He's going to go for a fight with Rob Wiz, who does get traded out at least, so it did do a little bit of damage. The plant is going to come in yet again for BBG onto the C site. 3 members of TSM trying to defuse it.
Revealing area.
Yeah, this is
Found them.
a fairly long rotation from them. So they made it all the way back around. In fact, a couple of the players are pushing to A, but chances are at this point, there'll be absolutely nothing. And while Drone, he's only got a classic. This was an eco round, really. It's only Wardell who'd invested anything extra. And if Drone can even get a pick here, that would be something. And there are a couple of players pushing directly into him. An instant dink, but unfortunately, the classic doesn't quite do as much damage as he would have liked. 7-7. All square, and for anybody who doesn't know, this is a battle to sort of stay in that upper bracket, have an easier road through, or potentially have the chance to fall down off of a loss. And for BBG, they already lost the first map, so realistically, if they are going to survive in this group, or survive in this match at least, they need this one.
It would go down to an elimination game against either Renegades or the Slimy Bogeymen. And honestly, after this performance, even if they go 0-2, I think they could take it. This is a huge improvement to this team. They're going up against players like Drone, but he's the one that gets the first bit of damage in, and it's a spray control practice, but they trade out. 3 versus 3, but look how low health Foe and Rob Wiz are. They don't have much going for them right now. A lot of reliance is going to go on to Will, to the point that I think they give him the bigger gun. This would be a great round for him to show up on. And the main star players of TSM, those heavy fraggers at least, are out of it for now. So it's how well this support backbone of Sub Rosa, Cutler, and Hazed could do in a really close 3v3.
Yeah, they've got the weaponry advantage, though. Of course, this is more of a bonus round for BBG, so although it would be huge for them to win it, they'll still be able to buy into the next round, so wouldn't necessarily be the end of the world, but let's see what they can do here. Of course, as you mentioned, they have some low HP players, and Will is going to have a lot of work to do. They are almost forcing a fair few rotations to now come out from TSM. They've gone checking into mid, the plays into B, and the site is going to go their way, but Sub Rosa's paranoia is perfect, and that's a spike. The spike's gone running through. That's a critical error coming out from BBG. That's round over. There's nothing you can do, and Sub Rosa will punish them for it. You definitely don't want to be giving this man extra ground to take, as he's been ruining them all the way through this series.
Luckily, like you mentioned, the money should still be decent, at least for BBG, that could buy up some of the bigger guns. They have the lockdown as well, that should prove helpful in an execute. But on paper, TSM versus Built by Gamers, this is the 3rd best team versus the 14th best team. And Built by Gamers are making it look even. TSM have looked good in areas, but Built by Gamers have not been too far behind at all. Such a key attacking round for them, and attacking for this team hasn't been ideal in some of the other games. But a fresh new look, and even bringing out the Blade Storm on Robwiz.
It saves them at least investing fully into the rifle for him. But look at the aggression, I was going to say, from Wardell, but he can't even think. Drone's hit between the eyes. However, Drone's now in position. He's dropped the spike, but the trades come back thick and fast. It's left onto Hazed. And realistically now, he's not going to be able to do anything. An important buyback from Built by Gamers. They'll keep things even for now.
It's really a shame that that lockdown came out from Bjorda. It wasn't really needed because it was just going to be Hazed left alive. Now Drone has to run it back. He's going to be playing A short. Might use it just to get that intel take a fight because he's been so in the face of Built by Gamers. He's been able to get lots of frags because of it, but their money isn't good. They have to save. It's an interesting choice because some of them have a little bit to work with, at least to buy a little bit bigger than some of the frenzies at least. Wardell with the Storm. It's a nice play, actually, to use some of that utility, but it's gone wrong completely. Wardell's used up everything and dies in the process. Really good play from Built by Gamers to hold their ground there. But do they expect Sub Rosa to push beyond this? Really hard to say because he has been an absolute devil for all of the teams that TSM have played up against, but he's going to back out.
Yeah, I think it would have been rough to try and get anything done from that situation after losing his teammate. This is hyper passive from BBG. Well, they've given up an awful lot of control, but I like this. They're going to go back towards the C site after giving up that early control. Critical's able to pretty much clear every single angle, and unless some divine entity guides Sub Rosa's bullet to a head, they're going to have a clean afterplant situation with not much for the opponents of TSM to take with.
First plant positions are good for Built by Gamers. Really wanted to play C long, and TSM's still considering it. Putting some pressure in and wanted to push off the recon bolt, but it's a nice little counter from Critical just to keep them glued on. Drone wanted to make a play, and Robwiz is going to flank in behind to do a little bit more damage, and he's able to. 4 versus 2, there's no real reason to save if you're TSM because it's just Sheriffs. Built by Gamers is taking out a lot more dominantly. But Cutler's still able to do a little bit of damage at least as the spike is going to deploy. Built by Gamers taking the lead in this one.
Can he run back in and get a gun? That's the question. He's being flanked. Never mind. Robwiz is some sort of divine force just floating his way through to get the instant headshot. And hey, we've seen some impressive turnarounds. Like there was a point where I'm pretty sure Bior was like, I want to say 1-5 or 2-5 in this game. He's now 19-10. Robwiz is up there as well, 18-11, and nobody on the other side is even that close. The next highest is Drone with 14. So they've got 2 players just absolutely popping off, and that's the reason they're in the lead at the moment.
Joke's over. You're dead.
Remember when Bio was on the Immortals team, the run it back though is going to be used before we get a bit too nostalgic. He's going to wrap him behind and he's going to be checked out. No, nobody's looking at him. I thought Will was keeping an eye, but they do send it back to his original avatar. Cutler though getting two. Nice little off angle on A-Long. It's going to take the wind out of BBG's sails a little bit. They're still considering hitting, but that alarm bot's going to give up some Rose's lurking position, but he's still good for two. It's just going to be critical, and what a time for TSM to get a flawless round.
Yeah, it seemingly came out of nowhere, using an ultimate that, well, ultimately did nothing. But some crisp headshots coming out from Cutler, Sabrosa, bringing some more style to the server, and that round is over in a flash. And the problem now is that a lot of the bank that we initially saw from BBG is now gone. Like, this is most of their money invested into this round, whereas there's slightly more on the TSM side for them to fall back on. Now, so far on the defensive side, TSM haven't managed to string more than one round together, so this is where they really need to begin with that. And Cutler is going to throw straight away. He puts in the Hunter's Fury, does a hell of a lot of damage, and Drone, he's gone for the same play, this time with a lot more risk behind it, as he didn't have the run it back, he didn't have the ultimate, but he had a lot more success.
The spike is on A-Long. Critical was the nearest to it. That is the third victim of Drone's amazing round so far. Sabros, a nice patient play, isn't going to necessarily spot. Yeah, never mind, because Bjor's gun just peeks around the smoke. Another potential flawless round for TSM. As soon as Build by Gamers just take the lead for the first time for a long time since Ascent, TSM turn it up. 2 flawless rounds in a row. The money is going to be great for them. Build by Gamers really running on fumes when it comes to money. They're going to have to save.
Yeah, the depth from this team is truly terrifying. Because you have to bear in mind, most of the time, Drone is on a more supportive agent. Like, you see him on a breach, sort of setting up for teammates, giving them those flashes for the openers. And then on this one, it's like they just let him roam free a little bit more. And the risk in that round is unbelievable. Because he made the same play. It was almost like the run it back in the last round was the dry run for the real attempt in this. And this time he absolutely nails it as well. So scary stuff as TSM now start to take some pretty aggressive fronts. And they're doing it again. They've already cleared the whole of A-Long. They know that this position is already clear. So they can start gambling players onto the other side of the map. Sure, if the push comes in quick enough, it may not matter too much, but Hayes is going to wrap around the angle. First kill goes his way. He corrects his spray as well to clean up 3 quick picks. He's looking for the ace, but unfortunately, it gets away from him. However, Cutler, while flying through the air, is going to kill off Bior. 11-9. There needs to be a break back now from the attacking side. Otherwise, while TSM are going to send them down to that lower bracket.
Big ultimates to work with. I want to see this Empress. I want to see more of Will because he hasn't kept up with the rest of his more aggressive teammates. He could just sort of get a couple more frags because some of these rounds, other than the 2 flawless that we highlighted before, were relatively close. TSM went down to 2 or 3 players there. Drone has just had A-Long on lockdown. Very aggressive, wants to keep these positions. A Build by Gamers look a bit weaker because of it. And Bjor doesn't expect Sabrosa to be in that position. It's a common area. It's a bit of a mistake from his part, to be honest, because he knew that the spray was coming through there a little bit. And it's just these kind of mistakes that TSM are going to punish all day long. There's still ultimates to work with, still opportunities for BBG. But look at the map control that TSM have. They're comfortable with A-Long. They're pushing A short. They've got the camera in garage that's going to get at least info that one person's in there. But they're confident that there's going to be more.
Already. We've seen too much of in this game so far, but Will has had some pretty tasty moments, at least in the first map. Hazed and Sub-Rosa, though, already going to turn this into an absolute slaughter. Last man standing, and it all looks too easy. This TSM has come from absolutely nowhere and now won multiple flawless rounds.
And to be honest, with a lot of these top-seeded teams, the ones that got to the semi-finals in the Open qualifiers, they haven't really had too many mistakes against them. They've had really dominant performances in the close qualifiers so far. A 2-0 from TSM is certainly going to be a look-in for that. we saw exactly what Cloud9 did yesterday, and it was a similar story with teams like 100 Thieves. It was only really Gen G that struggled a little bit against Equinox. It's an opportunity to go straight to the finals, the Riot Ran finals in December for these teams, and they're not letting it slip. They don't look fearful at all, but this is a nice opportunity to keep Build by Gamers in it. The lockdown is going to be in play, but this is going to force TSM to play a little bit more aggressively. Wardell is playing chicken with the ultimate. If he can get the kill onto BR, he's going to push for more, but he doesn't necessarily expect Critical to be guarding it with his life. It's a 3 versus 2. The lockdown's going to go on. No players are detained, but Subrosa's is on a mad flank again. Cutler trying to get a frag, and he does with the shock dart. That's a great shot into Critical. And now it's these 2 duelists on the side of BBG trying to make a play at this point. Can at least get Subrosa on the flank. You would imagine to be able to take Cutler too.
Oh, the shock dart almost does enough to at least give him an even scenario, but the drop down will gain absolutely nothing. Once again, it's almost the same as last time. TSM get towards that map point, and BBG start to fire once again. 2 of their players now above 20 kills, having a pretty decent performance. And as you mentioned, Will is one of the quieter ones, alongside Critical and Foe, still a little bit further down the bottom. But either way, there is still going to be an investment. Actually, Cutler now going to put some money into the Odin. We know this wall spam can be fairly dangerous. If anybody does go facing into mid early in the round, and it looks like we all might be about to do that. He's met by the Odin, absolutely ruins his day in the early stages. Wardell on his operator has picked off one as well. They'll take a 5-on-3 advantage within the first 15 seconds. Foe, he's being pushed as well. He's got to be careful. He does manage to trade things back slightly, but here comes the ultimate from Drone. He's going to make a play forward, looking to try and get in the faces of his opposition, and although he'll spot the info, it's actually Subrosa that's cleaning things up. Will to clutch it out. He needs a repeat of last map, and it is not going to be happening. TSM, they convert. They continue in the group in the upper bracket, and unfortunately for BBG, although a great performance, it's not quite enough this time.
We were expecting this kind of result, to be honest. Teams all admit have been looking so much better now than certainly towards the end of the ignition period, but what a game from Built by Gamers. They've shown to me at least that they are certainly capable at least of getting the second place in their groups to go